Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for coming out on this great day. It's a great day not only because the sun is shining, we got a break on the weather, but it's a great day because of what we're here to do today. I'm Walter LaCicero. I'm the Republican mayor of the borough of Lavallette, a little town out on the island. I'm one of a few dignitaries that are here to speak on behalf of our candidates. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce a member of Mr. Lonegan's campaign staff, Chris Santoro.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming out tonight. It's great to be back in Toms River. Helped us put us a little bit closer last year during the U.S. Senate race. You can always count on Toms River and Ocean County to help pull us through. I'm the campaign manager for Steve Lonegan for Congress, and I first wanted to just let you know a little bit about our campaign staff. We have 4 of our staff here today. We have Liz Curtis, who is our campaign treasurer, over to my left. We have Alex Martinez, our field director, Mike Stern, political consultant, and Obed Ezekian, our special assistant to the campaign. That's right, go Obed. Helping us do the audience today. Just a little bit about the staff. Between the entire staff, we have over 25 years of campaign experience, ranging from local races in the state of New Jersey to national races, presidential and U.S. Senate. So we do have a great campaign staff put together, put Steve through to get us through the June primary and also on to victory in November. Just want to give you a quick overview of what the campaign structure is going to kind of look like and what we're looking to do. Everyone here is going to be very instrumental in what we're looking to do. We're going to be knocking on doors, making phone calls, getting people out to vote, and doing little cottage parties. Alex will go into all that a little bit more in a few minutes, but that's basically what we're doing. A lot of you have already heard, Steve has been out knocking on doors since January 3rd. He's knocked on, a lot of the councilmen, mayors, screening committee members. I see some of you nodding your heads. Yeah, he's showing up at my house like 7 o'clock at night to just shut up and start talking. So he's been doing that. We're going to continue that all the way through November. We're going to be knocking on doors with Steve, so he might just show up at your house and want to come in and say hello and start talking to you. Right now, I'm just going to introduce Liz, our campaign treasurer, and go a little bit over the campaign financing. And please remember, scattered throughout the room, we do have volunteer sheets, we have petitions, and also donation envelopes. It takes money to run a campaign. Liz will go into that, but every dollar that you do donate will help us tremendously. Liz?
As Chris said, I'm Liz Curtis. I'm serving as treasurer for Lonegan for Congress. This race is particularly important to me because I do live in the 3rd District and I also support Steve for Congress, so it's something I'm pretty passionate about, and I'm very excited to be part of the campaign. It's very enthusiastic, it's well run, it's well organized, everybody is really gung-ho and moving forward. What I want to talk to you guys about today is just a little bit about the campaign finance and how you can financially support the campaign. We have 2 election cycles. We have this period up until the beginning of June, which is the primary, and then once Steve wins the primary, which I'm sure he will, then we'll be in the general election period. You guys can donate $2,600 is the maximum contribution we can take for the primary election cycle, which if anybody would like to hand me a check today, that'd be wonderful. You can donate via check, you can go online and donate via credit card. You can donate as many times as you'd like, as long as you don't exceed that contribution limit. But as I said, once the primary passes, we kind of reset the counter and you can start contributing again. Husbands and wives, they can contribute a combined $2,600 each for $5,200. You can do that on one check as long as it's being drawn on a joint account and we get signatures from both of you. We can take checks from LLCs and partnerships. We cannot take corporate money. So if you have your own business, which is a corporation, we would have to return that check to you. We'd rather not, so you could give us a personal check or a credit card contribution. We also have our website up and running, Lonegan2014.com, and right there on the home page is a nice donate button. Make sure that you fill in your employer and occupation information, because any contributions over $200, we have to report that information. And I don't want to have to hound people and track you down, because we're so appreciative of what you give that I don't want to be a pest. I'd rather just thank you than bother you after the fact. So I just want to thank you all in advance for your support. Whether you contribute $1 or $100 or you max out at $2,600, every contribution is appreciated. Every contribution that I put into the system I pay attention to and I'm thankful for, and I notice the towns that they come from and the people that they come from, and I like to read the little notes and pass the little notes on to everyone that I get with the contributions. As Chris said, and I'd like to reiterate, there are donation envelopes around the room, and I think I stand out in my red dress, so if anybody wants to contribute today, you can just find me and hand me an envelope, and that would be great. Thank you.
Trying to make this throw for lunch.
Good afternoon, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Alex Martinez. I'm the field director for Lonegan for Congress. I've lived in Ocean County since the late 80s. I grew up in Bayville, went to Central Regional High School. Now I reside in the beautiful little town of Ocean Gate, which is very well represented here today by our mayor, club president, and a couple of council members. It really is a pleasure to see all of you volunteers here today, because volunteers like you are the ones who are the heartbeat of any political campaign. You are the ones that make the difference throughout the course of the next 7 months. With your endurance and eagerness, we will pave a road for Steve Lonegan from right here, today in Toms River, through the primaries on June 3rd, and into Congress on November 4th. To accomplish this, we will carve out a stronghold in every municipality in Ocean and Burlington County by setting up a leadership council with one elected member from each municipality that will have a weighted say on how we're doing things and how we want to run little bits of the town. This will allow volunteers and voters alike to join Team Lonegan and become part of something special for years to come. So before you leave today, please remember to sign a petition and take a petition home with you. Remember to sign up as a volunteer. And please remember to donate. Every little bit counts. I look forward to working with each and every one of you, as well as being able to thank you victoriously on both June 3rd and November 4th. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce Mike Burns.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to see so many old friends here. Going back to 2009, 2013, county captains, leaders of the campaign in your municipalities and in your counties. See folks in the room who have done an enormous amount for Steve over the past 5 years, and it's culminating with this race where we are going to finally send Steve to Washington, D.C. Team Lonegan over the years has set records with regards to petitions. Back in 2009, you collected across the state 11,120 signatures, which was the record at the time. And then recently for the Senate race, in only 5 days, you collected, it was over 7,000, I think it was 7,210, if memory serves me, which was just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible, 7,210 in 5 days. In this particular race, under Alex's leadership, we're going to try to break those records and really show the strength of this campaign, the strength of Steve's base of support in the 3rd District, so that both everybody in state and national players who are going to want to get involved in this district, one of the most competitive districts in the country, can see how strong the support is here in the 3rd District. There are petitions on the table over on your right in the back, and there are instruction sheets as well. I just want to highlight a couple key instructions that you can keep in mind as I hope all of you will circulate the petition for Steve. Number one, keep the petition booklet stapled as is, no matter what. No need, if coffee spills on it, an error is made, there's a name that's crossed out, any kind of issue there, just keep it stapled, move on to the next number. That is the #1 best practice in terms of circulating a petition and ensuring that the Secretary of State accepts it. You'll see some pages in there that are not the petition pages. There's a cover page, a slogan page, an oath of allegiance that the candidate has to fill out. Just leave them blank, and we'll take care of that when the booklet is submitted back to us. Make sure you sign as the circulator in the first space, in space #1, on the first booklet that you circulate. Republicans and unaffiliated voters are allowed to sign. There's always some confusion on that year in and year out. But unaffiliated voters, because they can affiliate with the Republican Party on the date of the primary, are permitted to sign the petition. So welcome any and all Republicans and unaffiliated voters to sign that petition to get Steve on the ballot. And of course, the notary public, the campaign will coordinate as we get a little closer to the deadline, having notary publics available to you, volunteers throughout the district. If you end up turning your petition back in early, and it's not at one of our petition turn-in events where we'll have notaries present, make sure that when you turn it in, it has been notarized, that you have signed the back page in the presence of a notary public. We're going to try to collect all these petitions by about March 24th. They're due a week later, so you'll have a little bit of margin, but try to get your petitions in by the 24th. And one other key thing, never leave your petition unattended. Everybody who signs should sign in your presence, and you should witness their signature. Okay, any other questions? Either myself or Alex will be able to help, but I'll take one. George,
for each petition that you do, you always have to sign line 1, right? Right.
You can go ahead and do that just for safety's sake. We'll go back and we'll cross out. You can only sign as a petitioner once.
Oh, okay.
So
even if you take more than one, you don't have to sign the first
yeah,
one?
Yeah, it can't be counted, so we'll address that. I mean,
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Alex will be able to help you, and we certainly appreciate your support going forward. Election day, about 270 days from today, and we'll finally send Steve to Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.
The history of mankind that truly reversed the course of government, and with 3 little words: we the people. We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go, and by what route, and how fast. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. We, the people, are free. This belief has been the underlying basis for everything I've tried to do these past 8 years. But back in the 1960s, when I began, it seemed to me that we'd begun reversing the order of things. That through more and more rules and regulations and confiscatory taxes, the government was taking more of our money, more of our options, and more of our freedom. I went into politics in part to put up my hand and say, stop. I was a citizen politician, and it seemed the right thing for a citizen to do. I think we have stopped a lot of what needed stopping. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited. There's a clear cause and effect rule that is as neat and predictable as a law of physics. As government expands, liberty contracts.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Randy Pace. I'm a councilman in Medford Township, New Jersey. I started this past November my 2nd term in political office. I was in the United States Navy for 24 years, retired, came home to the United States to find that my government was out of control. I could not believe what good alleged conservatives were doing to my government, the government that I had swore to defend with my life. I ran for political office for the first time in 2010. I unseated a Republican for that office. The community that I serve with a great deal of pride. It was because of their vote. It was because of the information they were provided about what their local government was doing with their tax dollar that thrust me into office. I believe that in this day and age, not unlike President Reagan saw many years ago, that if we all sit idly by and expect the government to do the right thing, we're going to get what we deserve. If we inspect what our government is doing, then we're truly, truly going to end up with the kind of government that we all so desperately desire and need. I met Steve Lonegan a few years ago, and I have to tell you, of all the people that I've met, and I have met hundreds and hundreds of people since I got involved, of all the people I've met, I think Steve epitomizes what we need in this country today more than anyone I've met. I've had heated discussions with other politicians about whether or not I'm in fact a politician. And I vehemently oppose anyone that calls me a politician. I'm not. I'm just not. They tell me, well, the definition of a politician is somebody that seeks public vote for public office. I'm here to tell you that this country right now, more so than at any other point in my lifetime, needs not politicians, but statesmen like Steve Lonegan.
Thanks for coming out again. The recent announcement by Congressman John Runyon that he was not going to seek re-election for his position as Congressman of the 3rd District of the state of New Jersey, it came as quite a surprise to quite a number of people. The Democrats view that as an opportunity. They think that they can come in here and run a campaign and seize control of this district and move it over into the Democrat column. Because of that, it's important that we get the absolute strongest possible candidate as our candidate on the Republican ticket. We need a candidate who's going to have very strong name recognition. We need a candidate who understands the amount of work that it's going to take to run a campaign of this magnitude. And we need a candidate who understands the amount of money that it's going to take. In fact, tonight, Nancy Pelosi is in Burlington County to conduct a fundraiser for the Democrat candidate from Burlington County. So money is going to be in play in the 3rd District, there's no doubt about that. We need a candidate who's able to raise campaign contributions, and we also, and most importantly, need a candidate that we can send to Washington who is going to be willing to say no to trillion-dollar annual deficits, to say no to increased government intrusion into our private lives, and most importantly, to say end Obamacare. Thankfully, I know just such a candidate, and he happens to be standing in this room today. He's a candidate who has absolutely the best name recognition of any of the potential candidates in this race, whether they are Democrats or Republicans. This man has it hands down above them. He's recently run a statewide campaign, and he understands the amount of work that's necessary in order to win a campaign of this magnitude. He's a proven fundraiser. And most importantly, his conservative Republican credentials are unsurpassed and are unquestioned. He's a good friend of mine, my constituent and fellow resident of the borough of Lavallette, my fellow conservative, my fellow Republican. He is the next congressman from the 3rd District of the state of New Jersey, and he is Steve Lonegan.
Thank you, Walter. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, folks. It's so good to see such a terrific turnout today. As I'm here to say officially that I am running for Congress in the 3rd Congressional District. The first question you should ever ask any candidate is, why are you running? And I can tell you that very simply, because we are in a pivotal moment in American history. A time in our history where we're going to make a decision whether we're going to follow that path of liberty and freedom that was laid out in front of us by the founding fathers of this nation, and through the sacrifice of those who fought on the battlefields of liberty for the last over 230 years, and continue that effort to be self-reliant as Americans hold up that torch of liberty and opportunity for the world, the nation that has elevated more people out of poverty into prosperity than any other nation in the history of mankind. Or are we going to follow that path of government entitlement, bigger government, more intrusion into our liberties, more surveillance of our privacy, more intimidation out of the IRS? Bigger government that is self-serving and is losing that vision of the founding fathers, that threatens our liberty, threatens our freedom, and threatens to dim that torch of liberty that has lit the light for the entire world. That's the decision we're making. And that's why I'm running for Congress. Because very simply, government has become too big, too intrusive, and is growing bigger and bigger every day. We saw that in President Obama's State of the Union speech with his threats to use executive power, the power of an imperial presidency that George Washington recognized would be a threat, that Thomas Jefferson recognized would be a threat, and is a threat. Folks, this is about the future of our nation. It was Ronald Reagan, and I chose today, the birthday of the greatest president in my lifetime, one of the greatest presidents in the last 100 years, Ronald Wilson Reagan. Born 103 years ago today. It was no mistake that we launched this campaign on Ronald Reagan's birthday. Because I remember so well in 1980 when Ronald Reagan was elected with that vision of limited government, of individual liberty. You saw it in that video clip, that we the people determine the future of this country. We drive the car that is the American government, not the other way around. And we're forgetting that. It's time to reignite the Reagan Revolution in this nation. It's imperative to the future of our country. And it's going to start right here, right now in Toms River, New Jersey. I speak to these news reporters, some liberal commentators, like, well, what do you mean government's bigger? Don't we need the government to take care of those truly in need? Of course, we as the people, as a civil society, have always taken care of people truly in need. That's the way Americans are. We are the most charitable country in the world. We're the most giving country in the world because we're the most prosperous country in the world. But look at what's happened to us just in the last 5 years alone. We've seen the passage of the Dodd-Frank bill, a bill that intrudes into every aspect of our financial sector, controls our credit card credit card transactions, our credit lines, our banks, our savings accounts, every single thing. They want to control everything. They want to regulate everything we do in the entire financial sector. They want to control our health care. The same regulators in Washington, D.C., who can't get out of their own way, want to determine under the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, a.k.a. Obamacare, they want to interfere in every single decision you make every single day about your health care, your children's, and your parents'. It's unacceptable. It's an intrusion on a scale we've never seen before. When I go to Washington, D.C., I will work to repeal and eliminate Obamacare and return. You know, we've heard this, too many speeches and too many politicians over the last 4 years. They get up and say it, but then they don't do it. Let's have real proven results this time. To the senior citizens throughout Ocean and Burlington County who are getting notices about losing their retirement plans or changing this plan. Almost 1 million New Jerseyans have received these kinds of notifications over the past 6 months. It's about time we stood up and said, no, hands off our health care. We want our health care freedom back. So, to the doctors and nurses out there and medical technicians who've worked so hard to build a future, who really care passionately about the work that you do and about your patients, help is on the way. Help is on the way. Don't be demoralized. We're going to put this country back on track, and we're going to put you back in those positions of respect you deserve so that our decisions are made by you and your doctor, not by bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. You don't think they can control everything. My wife, Lorraine, who is not with me today, because my wife, Lorraine, is a teacher. My wife is a teacher in a grammar school. They just had 2 snow days, and it's back to school day for these kids, and we thought it was better that she be with her children today. It's hard to get a substitute now, and that's okay. There's going to be plenty of time for my wife to be on the campaign trail for me. Her commitment is to her children. That's what teachers do. Their commitment is to their children first. My daughter, Katie, of 29 years old, who is expecting my first grandson in April, is also a teacher. I know what teachers do. I know the sacrifices they make. It's a common area of discussion in our household all the time. But now you have a federal government that thinks that their bureaucrats in their ivory towers in Washington, D.C. can make better decisions on what's best for the education of those individual children than my wife can. But every child is different. Everyone here who's a parent or grandparent knows the major differences you find within your own families, amongst your own children. How can government bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. establish a one-size-fits-all education system and tell my wife and my daughter, who are with these kids every day, how to teach those children? They can't. I will stand up against the Common Core standards coming out of the Obama. To bring education back to the local level, to the school boards. Education is about a parent, a teacher, and a child, not about a federal bureaucrat. It belongs in the hands of local school boards, not in Washington, D.C. We need to make that happen. At the core of everything, when we talk about liberty and freedom, you cannot have prosperity without liberty. You can not have freedom without liberty of government. And you can't protect any of those without a strong military. When Ronald Reagan was president, he got out on front and he built the American military to levels not seen before. And he introduced something you remember called Star Wars, the Strategic Missile Defense System. He was attacked by the liberal media for claiming he was going to build this system of Star Wars that would defend America from missile attacks, and he was ridiculed for it. But Ronald Reagan, because of the strength of the American military, took down the Soviet Union, that threat that we lived under for so many years, without firing a single shot. Not because we had to be an aggressor, but simply because of this nation, that is not an aggressor nation, not an imperialist nation, is not looking to take over countries, was so powerful that the Soviets realized they couldn't do anything about it, and they folded their tents and went home. It's time we rebuilt that American military. Let these little 2 big countries around the world rattle their sabers all they want. When we dominate the air, the seas, and the land, there's nothing they can ever do about it. Unfortunately, under this administration, we're watching our military diminish and our military strength diminish. Our U.S. Navy is now at its lowest level of ships since World War I. So what's the result? Piracy. The shipping lanes of this world, which are our corridors to economic growth and prosperity, are under assault by pirates from countries like Somalia. What are we talking about here? Did you ever hear of pirates when you were a kid growing up? It's almost like pirates because of the diminution of our Navy fleet. We need to rebuild the American Navy. We need to have the most state-of-the-art Air Force the world has ever seen. We need to go beyond Star Wars to even a greater level of technology, and we need to be the most powerful military in the world, and I will fight to make sure that happens. But the greatest blotch on the honor of this country is the way we have treated our veterans. A veteran coming back from Afghanistan, a disabled veteran coming back from Afghanistan, can expect to wait for over a year to get their benefits. That's a disgrace. Under the budget bill passed not months ago, we've seen a reduction in veterans' pensions. An illegal alien can come across the border to have a baby in this country and be delivered services immediately. Have a social worker visit them in the hospital. Your new anchor baby child, and you are now going to receive services. Why don't we treat our veterans with more dignity than that? Why don't we show our veterans? Mayor Randy Pace, a mayor and councilman from Medford, served in the United States Navy for 24 years. My dad served in the United States Navy as a Korean War vet. He passed away when I was a kid. My mom now is in a situation, unfortunately, of being in a nursing home. She will wait over a year to get the veterans' benefits that she deserves as the widow of a war vet. Over a year. That's how we treat our own citizens, our own senior citizens, as we attack not just the veterans' benefits, but diminish our military. If we're going to put America back on track towards liberty and freedom, we need to be so strong that we're impervious to attack by any other country, without attacking the individual liberties of Americans by gathering their emails, their phone calls, their medical records, and their bank records through the NSA. We are not going to sacrifice our Fourth Amendment rights under some threat of terrorism. We can defeat terrorism without assaulting American liberty. And that's going to happen when I'm a United States Congressman. And we're going to put an end. If we're going to grow this economy in the 3rd Congressional District, and I know this district well, folks. I have spent a lot of time here over the last decade. I led an effort years ago to stop Jim McGreevey from raising the gas tax 10 cents and won. I led an effort in '07 to stop John Corzine from borrowing over $500 million for something called embryonic stem cell research that he said was going to cure all the diseases known to man, and we defeated that ballot question. Since then, that type of investment by states has proven to be a total disaster. We won and beat the first ballot question in 30 years. In 2008, I stopped John Corzine from hocking our toll roads and raising your tolls over 800%. That's right. We led that effort. I led the effort to pull New Jersey out of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative cap-and-trade energy program that would have raised your energy prices by double by the year 2020. Convinced Governor Christie to do it. Thank God he did. It was the right thing for the economy of this district. But you know what? The 3rd Congressional District has an unemployment rate of over 10%. That's an absolute disgrace. In a state that should be an economic powerhouse, we have a business and economic private sector that's being throttled by government. Not because we don't have great educated people or great resources or a great shorefront or great highways, because of the failed policies of the federal government that has developed regulations so complex and so difficult that people choose rather not to build a business or even try. As I am looking forward to the day I will sponsor legislation in Congress that will require that in every decade, and we can negotiate whether it's 8, 10, or 12 years, that all the regulations coming out of a regulatory body are sunsetted, reviewed by Congress, and reestablished and analyzed to see if they're effective. Over the years, these bodies in Washington, D.C., these regulatory bodies, EPA, OSHA, and others, they just come up with regulation on top of regulation. Congress has abdicated their authority to vote on these regulations. They're choking business. We're choking business in these red tape and regulatory environments. Now the liberal left is going to say, oh, Lonegan wants to return to, dirty air and dirty water. That's nonsense. We need to review these regulations to see if they have any meaning at all, if they're impactful, if they're throttling our economic growth. And this is called responsibility. Congress has to take back its authority over regulations and taxes from these regulatory bodies. And I will make sure we do that. We need to stop Barack Obama from using executive orders to choke this economy. I could go on and on about the various issues and coming out of the federal government that I've worked on over the last many years. And that would take all afternoon. That's how big it is, unfortunately. The bottom line is, folks, I'd like you to ask yourselves this. Who's the person that you can send from the 3rd Congressional District to Washington, D.C. that's going to work the hardest, fight tirelessly, and stand up for the things that you believe in? I kind of hope you say that. Ronald Reagan stood up on 1980 and when being elected after coming off of the malaise of Jimmy Carter with a vision for future growth and future prosperity and delivered the most prosperous decade in the last 100 years of American history. We can do that again. We can do that again. 1955, when my mom and dad were married, they came out of the church, the doors of St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Pagoda, New Jersey. 1955, the national debt stood at $274 billion. So my parents came out of that church into that bright, sunny day. Dwight Eisenhower was president. Ahead of them lay decades of American prosperity, coming off of World War II. This is the country that had nothing but boundless economic growth ahead of it. The ability to work and save. Detroit was booming. We would put a man on the moon, come up with cures for polio, invent laptop computers, and Microsoft, whatever. 1981, my wife Lorraine and I are married. 1981, we come out of those church doors. The national debt, $997 billion. Ahead of us, we were full of hope and opportunity. With Ronald Reagan as president, cutting the size of government, cutting taxes, we would look forward to a decade of economic growth like never before. And I would myself be able to build a very successful small business and create real jobs and real wealth. 2012, which was 2 years ago, my daughter Katie and her husband married, came out of the doors of the exact same church, which was quite nice to see, into a nation with a debt of over $17 trillion. Massive budget deficits, declining military strength, choking regulations, in a nation in which that hope and that bright future has diminished and is diminishing significantly. We owe it to our children, we owe it to the next generation, to recognize how blessed we are, that this great country is a great country and will be a great country once again, but cannot continue on this path. There is a future in better courts for America, and that's a future based on a belief in individual liberty, in self-reliance, not entitlement programs and big government. A nation that needs to return to an ancestry of people who would take their belongings, load them into the back of a horse-drawn carriage, and head out into the wilderness to build a country out of nothing, expecting nothing from the government, nothing for their kids, only the opportunity to be free. From Barack Obama, we keep hearing, and Nancy Pelosi, that they're going to create government jobs, and they're going to make the government grow the economy. I have a message for Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. Nancy Pelosi, who's come to the 3rd Congressional District to raise money for my opponent. We don't need your government programs or your government jobs. Give us our freedom and we'll give you all the jobs you can ask for. That's what we're so, ladies and gentlemen, we do have our work cut out for us ahead. The Democrat Party has targeted the 3rd Congressional District. They think they can win this seat. They can't. But we'll take nothing for granted. We're going to work harder than ever before. Those of you who took part and participated in the U.S. Senate race, that was just a warm-up for things to come. We have a message that resonates across party lines. That message is liberty. It boils down to one word, liberty. Our liberty and our freedom are what's at stake. That's what this campaign is about. So I'm looking forward to a terrific 7 months ahead. I'm going to work as hard as I can. But most of all, I'm looking forward to joining the Ocean County Republican team. It's a great organization, and the Burlington County team. And I'm looking forward to being your congressman, representing your values and your beliefs. And with your help, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do that. So thank you for being here today. God bless you. Thank you.
Steve, I know that you got the best name recognition of anybody out here. You won this district over Cory Booker by over 8 points in that Senate race. Yeah. We all know that money is the lifeblood of any campaign. I know that you're going to win this district, and I want to be one of the first to offer a campaign contribution to you.
Thank you, sir.
And I encourage everyone else to do the same.
Thank you. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't raise money. This race is going to cost $4 million. $4 million. 25,000 people donated for my Senate race across the country. We're going to raise this, $100 at a time, $500 at a time, $2,600 at a time. I know it's tough in today's economic times. Investing in this campaign for Congress is investing in the future of this nation. So I appreciate anything you do. Again, thank you for being here.